Hello my friends, it's Ranger Russ from the Meigs Nature Center, coming to you today from Windsor Meadows State Park. And there's the beautiful, show you the Connecticut River right along here. We're going to be doing this walk along the Connecticut River. About 1.6 miles of this park is located right on the banks of the Connecticut River. But before I start walking down the trail, I want to let everybody know tomorrow is the last of our Women Leaders in Conservation series. And you can tune into that. You can watch it on Zoom or Facebook Live. And for details about how you can watch it, you can go to meigsnaturecenter.org, go to the calendar, and under tomorrow's program, you'll get to see it. Now, we have many programs coming up Saturdays at 10 o'clock, so make sure you look at all of the upcoming Saturdays for those programs, and those are on the calendar. These programs happen live Tuesday through Friday at 11 o'clock. If you miss a live program, you can watch them on our YouTube channel. Yes, the Meigs Nature Center has its own YouTube channel. Not many people are subscribing, so let's try and get more people to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Still trying to reach that 300 mark right now, but let's try and get some more people subscribing on YouTube. And you can see these programs also in the Virtual Learning Center at meigsnaturecenter.org. So visit our Virtual Learning Center. We have lots more than just the programs. We have other educational information as well. All right, we're gonna flip the camera around so that I can show you what we're looking at. There we go. So again, this is the Connecticut River. I forget which bridge that is, but there's a beautiful bridge across the beautiful Connecticut River. Now, this park is divided up into 3 sections. This is the one that is most often visited. It does have a boat launch, so you can launch your boats, canoes, kayaks, whatever you'd like if you want to go out on the Connecticut River. And then the other 2 sections are north of me, and they're a bit smaller. The first section, the furthest north section, is about 48 acres. The middle section is 19 acres, and then this one is 88 acres, and it has this beautiful path which we're going to be walking on. But let's show you the boat launch. Doesn't that look like a great place to launch your boat? And with all the tire tracks, it looks like people are using it pretty regularly. All right. This is the first time, pretty sure, the first time that I have visited this park. Now, you see this says Town of Windsor. They maintain at least part of this this path that we're going to be on, this river trail. They call it, it's a bike path. So, now, right off the bat, I'm noticing something. If you look out, do those leaves look funny to anyone? Like there's just something off. This isn't maybe the color. The leaves aren't as big as they should be for leaf litter in a forest. There's a really good reason for that. This area floods when the Connecticut River comes up really high. So water will sit in here at different times of the year. And that's why those leaves look a little off, if they look off to you. And we'll see if we can find some more signs of that. Here's something. Now, notice right here, you can see there's a line of grass that goes right along here. And then there's exposed soil, and then there's leaves. Now, naturally, this is not going to happen. What I believe this is as they're maintaining this trail, they go along in the fall with a leaf blower and blew that little strip of blew the leaves off. So that's why that looks like that. So being low to the Connecticut River, Not sure if you can see on the other side of the river, the bank goes, it looks pretty bare and exposed. So the Connecticut River is a wide river, and that bank, if you don't have vegetation on it, it'll very easily get eroded away. All right, I always enjoy people's questions and comments, and please put up where you're messaging from. So I'll take a moment here and see. Sue says that she's been here. Very cool. We have people watching from Wallingford, Old Saybrook. Judith from Ohio. Judith has enjoyed our Saturday programs, and hopefully this Saturday's program will entertain you all as well. This is a beautiful path. It makes me wish I brought my bike. I didn't realize how much of a bike path they had here. So I mentioned there's 1.6 miles of this park are right along the river. But pretty much the entire park is on the river. So it doesn't go, if we turn and face this way, the park is not very wide. It doesn't go very far off in that direction. The total acres here are 88 acres. I'm sorry. This section is 88 acres. So I'm not sure what the total is. We've got 88, 48, and 19 acres make up this park. So it's pretty good. That's 150 acres roughly. And this is why I write myself notes. That bridge back there is the Bissell Bridge. I like that name. And if anybody has seen my program on blue mussels, you'll know why I enjoy that name so much. Looks like a beautiful day to be boating out on the river. It's pretty calm. Notice though, in the center there's a lot of water moving. That's the main channel is on the far side, at least in this part of the river. This side over here is nice and calm. So you really want to watch that on a large river. Typically, a canoe or kayak isn't going to run into issues with currents this far up. We're at 52 miles from Long Island Sound, so not going to be too much current out there. Connecticut River, I just saw something. Let me go back here. The Connecticut River starts on the Canadian border and flows through New England. Yes, it does. The Connecticut River is, let's see if I remember this. I did a program on the Connecticut River. I think it's 140 miles long. It starts, there's I think 3 lakes up in Canada where those 3 lakes really are the beginning of the Connecticut River. All right, we have to stop because there's been some large trees as we're walking along here. They made the path go over between these 3 right here. But we need to go over and take a look at this. Sue is mentioning the car ferry in Rocky Hill, which at one point was the oldest ferry. Continuously running ferry, I believe, but I'm not sure that it still is. So look at the damage around the base of this tree. The bark is just completely blown away here. And I'm going to guess that has something to do with the water coming up. Yeah, look. There's bark going all the way to the ground on the back side of the tree. and on the other side of the tree, the bark is all missing. So I'm wondering if we've had some big floods and things, the debris washing down, slam into this tree and peel the bark off. This one has most of its bark there, but there is a big chunk of bark missing. And if you recognize that shaggy vine growing up there, oh, I hear the train chimes. There's going to be a train. You have to cross some railroad tracks to get to this park. So, and I hear the chimes are going. Now I hear the train. I don't think we're going to be close enough to see it. Look at that. If you want to enjoy the Connecticut River, this is the park to go to. And I really do wish I had my bike. I don't know if you guys can hear the train. So we're seeing a lot of low brush here that is invasive. There's a lot of multiflora rose in here. Looks like primarily multiflora rose. There is some oriental bittersweet. And I'm sure that this entire area gets flooded at times, judging by what we've seen so far. Yep, the shaggy vine is poison ivy. All right, let's see. We've got a little patch of Phragmites over in the back there. Another large tree that has come down. Now, the Dutch explorer, who was believed to be the first European to come up and document the Connecticut River, he wrote as he came, because they believe that this is about as far up as he went. He may have gone a little bit further up the Connecticut. And he brought a ship up here called the Onrust. I love the name Onrust. I'm probably pronouncing it incorrectly because it translates, it's a Dutch word for restless. And I know that we have a deep employee who is Dutch. I'm going to have to reach out to him and find out if that's pronounced correctly. But he wrote that the Native Americans were farming maize all along the sides of the river as he came up this far. 1614, I think, he sailed up here. He explored from New Jersey to Massachusetts, the coast here. He was after Hudson, though. Hudson came first, but they don't think Hudson came up the Connecticut River. So that's why he was the first one to record this part of the river. There's another invasive here. That is Japanese knotweed. We've seen that in many of the parks. This is not a lot, though, compared to some of the other parks that I visited. I remember Harkness had a big clump of it growing there. We have some at Hammonasset. We try and control it. Those two trees there, look at that gouge out of those two trees, goes all the way up to the top. Each one has one. And that's a pretty straight line. So I'm not sure what causes that. Typically, when you get a lightning strike, you're going to get more of a spiraling, twisting damage. But that, I guess that could be a lightning strike. And there's an old cable bolted into growing out of that tree right, I don't know if you can see it, let's see, right there. All right, let's see if we've got any question. Oh, I am at Windsor Meadows State Park. I believe part of this park, the northern park, is not actually in Windsor, but we'll have to check on that one. I didn't look a whole lot at the northern two sections of this park. They don't really have access to those as nice as this does down here. There's a lot of poison ivy. Look at all the big fuzzy vines growing up all along here. And I know many people are, ooh, poison ivy's bad. Whoop, there's a bad one. All right, we'll go back to poison ivy. There is burning bush. Those invasives really just stand out to me. I seem to notice them everywhere. And it might be because the first job that I had with the DEP, 1988, was to remove invasive species from the campground at Rocky Neck State Park. And from that point on, I think they just always have sort of stood out to me because it's always been a task to try and reduce them. You can see there's some oriental bittersweet, the nice red berries up in there. Lots of twisting poison ivy. And the reason that I think poison ivy is good, first of all, the birds enjoy poison ivy. It is a native plant. Yes, it's an irritant. You know, you don't want to come in contact with it, but it is a beneficial plant to have because so many birds feed on it. So I think I did mention we're about 52 miles up from Long Island Sound. So if we were to drop a boat in here, it'd take us a few hours to get down to Long Island Sound. Canoe or kayak. All right, there's a little bird. Let's see if we can zoom in a little bit. There's a little brown bird up here. It's moved. I can't see it very well. Looks like a sparrow-shaped bird. And it flew away. Let's keep going. Adrien Block might be a good person to read about for my radio show. I've been doing a radio show with Professor Stephen Gencarella, and he's found a book from the 1700s that we've been reading excerpts of Connecticut wildlife out of it. There's a lot of little birds flitting around in here. A lot of sparrows. I think that's a white-throated sparrow I just heard. I'm not sure though. I am really not a good birder by ear person. So we've been reading this book written by a minister, and we read excerpts of the animals, like the whopper knocker. That was one of the first ones we did. We had to try and figure out what he was talking about because nobody knows what a whopper knocker is, and we think that the whopper knocker turned out to be a fisher cat, which is actually not a cat, weasel. I don't like that. But maybe Adrien Block, if we could find some writings that he wrote about his exploration up the Connecticut River, we can see if there's anything unusual that he discovered in his writings. All right, I'm noticing something over there that looks very curious. Looks like a big pipe coming out of the ground right there. Let's zoom in a little bit, see if you guys can see that. You see that right there? Right there. Don't know what that's from. Oh, there are two. There's another one over there. So that's probably a base for an old dock or an old bridge or something, like a footing or a pylon. All right. One by itself would be very confusing. So again, I'm seeing a lot of these. This area looks like water has sat out here. So I'm thinking if you notice this area, this section over here, let me zoom back out here. This section here is a little bit lower than the actual bank. So when the river overtops the bank, and flows out into these low areas, it's going to sit out in that lower area for a while. That's going to change the types of plants that grow. This is like a river floodplain. So the trees that are growing out here, they need to be able to grow at least part of the year completely submerged in water. And the shrubs, things like that, that's going to change the type of vegetation that you get. It's not going to be wet all the time. It can dry right out because it is dry now. But it is something that you need to look for as you're walking around, walking by rivers and things. You're not going to see as many oaks. Now I say that and we just come up upon a couple of, oh, never mind, those aren't oaks. Those look like ashes. You're not going to find as many oaks. You're going to find more maples. Maples are more tolerant of being in the water. Let's see, I remember reading about walking a boat up the river, Old Saybrook, to Windsor in the 1600s. Wow. That's very cool. So here, let's take a look at this this channel. Look at how eroded that bank is. I hear a kingfisher. And I see what looks like a giant hot water heater on the other side, so there's some trash. Another train going by. Look at how much ice there is in here, because this water isn't moving at all. So I'm guessing this is a dead-end little channel. I'm wondering why it's there. Let's keep going and find out. Yeah, the Whopper Knocker was one of... You can listen to that episode at ICRV radio online. It's in the archives. The name of the show is Nature Folk. And we're going to be doing another show this coming Monday at 5 o'clock. So we're into the birds now, we're in the bird section, so we'll be talking about some birds. There's a mockingbird. Let's see if I can zoom in, eating berries off of that bush. I can't see it on the screen, but it's in that area there. Let's see if we can get a little closer. Yeah, see it flitting around. That's a big mockingbird. That is a really big mockingbird. I used to have a mockingbird at the nature center. It would sit up on the roof of the building and mock all other birds' calls. And I would, every once in a while, I'd hear a bird that I didn't recognize and I'd run out. And it was him just sitting there singing away on the top of a tree right next to the building. And he sometimes combines calls, so they don't just mock another bird's calls, they will combine other birds' calls together to make a brand new call, or do them in succession. It gets very confusing. That is so cool. He's just sitting there. He's eating multiflora rose berries. I'm saying it's a he because of the... Actually, I shouldn't say that. I was saying it's a he because it's a little bit larger than I'm used to, and it has really nice color pattern, but the female mockingbirds also have the same color pattern as the males. They're not sexually dimorphic. All right, I just want to stand back. How cool would it be riding a bike down that trail? Look at that. It just meanders through there. This just looks like fun. The channel is still on our right. So we're going in, and it looks like on the far side of the channel it opens up into some farmland or marshland over there. I can't tell which. But we'll just keep going and see what it is. I find mockingbirds fascinating. I often wonder, birds that mimic so much like that, I wonder why they need to do that, and if they have their own call. Like, does a mockingbird have a really distinctive, that's a mockingbird's call, or a unique call? So I think I was wrong. This is a river flowing through down here. I thought it would dead end because it was all frozen at that end, but this is not frozen and moving. Maybe there's a log or something that's keeping the water from moving down there and allowed it to freeze over. But I feel like we're walking along a river, and I kind of feel like we're coming to the end of it because it sounds like we're moving up onto a street here. Also, there's a pile of wood chips here. So they probably put this out to help maintain the area. But I'm gonna take a quick jaunt in here. Now, this is probably where they use the wood chips on this path here. The reason I want to come over here is if you take a look here, this looks like a mud puddle. So we were talking about how the water sits here for a time, and back at the beginning I mentioned that the leaves were just an off color. Leaves that are laying out in the forest, let me make sure I'm zoomed all the way out here. Leaves that are laying out in the forest are going to be more orange, more reds, more yellows. Leaves that are underwater, not only are they going to get a little bit of residual dirt as the water dries up, but the color just seems to leach out into the water and they end up being really gray. So this leaf sat in water. So when you are going through a forested area, wooded area, especially near water, and you start to notice this, it doesn't have to be near water though. It could be a vernal pool. Vernal pools get leaves like this when the vernal pool dries up. Now, most vernal pools are going to sustain their water through the winter, so this isn't the best time. But you can tell that you've come upon an area that may be a vernal pool by the color of those leaves that are sitting on the ground. All right, so we have an option. We can continue down this path here that looks like a wood chip path, or we can continue up the paved path, and I think we're going to continue the paved path. So many of our state parks, we get cooperation with towns, land trusts, and other organizations like the Connecticut Forest and Park Association to help maintain, to help keep up with the parks. Some of the parks don't have a staff person that can go there every day or even regularly. So we really depend on those other organizations to help with that. So if we look back over there, that's that field that I was seeing. That does look like farmland over on the other side there. And it looks like we're coming up on a farm. I see some white fences over here. And a beautiful bridge. So this river that we saw back there that was all frozen over has meandered around and twisted and come back. And now we're crossing over it. Look at that. All right, so look down there. You can see the bank of that river is completely exposed. So this river probably gets much higher than it is in the spring and fall rains. It's not moving a whole lot right now. Actually, it looks like the wind is blowing upstream right now, so the ripples seem to be going upstream instead of downstream. But how beautiful is this spot? Oh, look. So look, if you look on this side, you see all the grass is pointed downstream and there aren't any leaves. So this area gets washed away. In the fall, it washed away all the leaf litter. And there's a little bit of a waterfall over there. Looks like a log blocked it off and the sand built up and created a little waterfall. And we're just gonna take a peek out here. Wonder if this circles back to the parking lot or if I have to backtrack. So that looks like a farm fence there. Not seeing any livestock. Does look like a livestock fence though. Here's a nice little field. This looks like a great habitat for some grouse, some deer to be grazing, turkeys, things like that. I see somebody says nature detective. I like that. I am always very curious about why things look the way they do. My personal motto has been wonder, explore, discover. I'm always wondering about things, which leads me to explore them. Oh, let's see, we got a vulture. No, not a vulture. What do we have here? It's gonna come right over our heads. Looks like a red-shouldered hawk. Not sure if you guys can see that. I got a little dizzy there, spinning around, looking up like that. That might be a red tail. No, that's a red tail hawk. How pretty is that? It's a great area for it to hunt out in that big field we went by there. There's going to be rodents out there eating the seeds, which will bring the hawks in. Take a look at this. There's a tree right here that snapped off, came down across the trail. They cut it up. They left some on each side of the trail though. So these little brush piles, now at the time I'm sure this was a lot taller, but this would have created a great habitat. Rabbits and things like that, small mammals, love these brush piles, these thickets they can get into. Protects them from the red-tailed hawk or a coyote or a fox that's too big to fit into these areas. Right, this trail seems to be heading back towards the parking lot, so we're going to go down this trail. There's some grapevine here on the side, so we do have lots of grape in Connecticut. Unfortunately, there's a lot of it that's not native, but you can tell grape pretty easily because it's got sort of this these long flakes in the bark, where the bittersweet is going to have a solid vine. Poison ivy gets that, the really thick poison ivy gets the shaggy, hairy vines. And you can eat grape leaves too, the leaves of the grape, not just the grapes. And if you get the grapes at the right time, they are pretty tasty. So I forgot to give everybody a weather update. Today we're looking at, I don't know, it feels like we're getting close to 40. It's not really cold, not really windy. It's pretty pleasant. I think I found a dead end. So this is, it's a good day to be out here. For a January, I'm being told, I was told that today is going to be warm for a typical January day. All right, so we do have this little dead end. And sort of a field in front of us. Looks like some tree of heaven off in the back there. Oh, there might be a hiking trail. No, that looks like it goes into a neighborhood over there. But look at this. Look at this tree. There's a photo op for you right there. Looks like a beech tree. It is mostly dead. There are some leaves left, so that right-hand part of the tree, that low right-hand, almost looks like a second tree there growing up that they may have grown together. Now this is what you call a den tree. There looks like there could be some cavities. There could be lots of insects in there. This is a great tree. Let's go explore a little bit. So there's this log that's on the ground here. Looks like it broke off from the main trunk there. So it looks like there were a cluster of trees that grew together. So if you see there, looks like it broke off right from that scar, the scar right here. This looks like that's where this big log that's over here broke off from that. Now, this is what's going to happen when you get a big tree like this and they start to grow together. So there are probably 3 trunks, maybe 4 trunks when the tree was very young, spaced out a little bit, but too close to each other, so they grew together. That's fine for a while, but what happens is the water starts to get in, and you can see there are roots all growing down there from vines and other, probably just vines though, growing down. That's going to cause the weak point in this tree, and it's going to start to separate, and then eventually this is going to break off. Water is going to stay in there. It's going to allow fungus to grow in there. So that does create a weak point in your trees. If you had that near your house, you wouldn't want that. You don't want trees that are growing into each other too close to your home, because eventually those are going to come down. Now, this tree isn't near anything. It's out in the open. And if you remember, I mentioned this many times in past programs. If you look how low the branches are on this tree, this grew without any other trees around it. This was a completely cleared field when this tree grew. So I would just, leave this here, let it fall down on its own one piece at a time, which it will do. But until then, let's see, pan up a little bit. You can see there are woodpecker holes right along here. There's a whole series of woodpecker holes. So there are got to be plenty of insects in there. I'm not seeing any open cavities, but that doesn't mean, the backside or down in the gaps there could be some open cavities, which are great for dens. A raccoon could go in there, maybe a squirrel. Barred owls will nest in there. Screech owls. So this is, we're going to say this is an ultimate, and it's a big tree, ultimate habitat right here. It's very cool. There are lots of knots growing too. This tree doesn't look like it was growing very healthy ever. There are branches there. I'm seeing seams and knots. This is not a typical beech tree. Look at that seam right here. So that's two branches that are grew together, and that eventually could lead. That's probably not going to get too much rot, but you can see the green moss growing there. That's going to cause an issue. So this lower one could break off. It's structurally not as strong when you get those seams too. But you see there are knots. Scarring occurred. A little damage causes those knots. All right. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed this this walk through Windsor Meadows State Park. Not a whole lot of meadows left, and the name of the park really tells us why that tree grew, or why that tree was in the open, because these were probably all meadows along here. When you get these big plains along the side of a river, it actually restores when those floodwaters come up and overbank, and then they sit out there. The sediment that's in the water adds to the soil, and usually the sediment out of water is very fertile soil. So that's why people farm along the floodplains and flat areas near large rivers. So if you've ever looked at the Mississippi River farmers and you see their entire field is underwater and you wonder, why are they farming there? Because it's big, flat area, an expansive flat area that restores with very fertile soil every year, but that also means that they get flooded. So that's why Windsor Meadows, probably called Windsor Meadows, because these were all open fields like this area here. This is looks like it was a meadow, but again, looks like some tree of heaven popping up over there. All right, so again, let's just quickly go over pros and cons of visiting Windsor Meadows State Park. First of all, this path is absolutely gorgeous. You really want to bring a bike, push your stroller, whatever you have with wheels. This is a great one to do it. No motorized vehicles, but this is a great, beautiful path. Beautiful views of the Connecticut River. Great place to launch a boat on the Connecticut River. The trees for many people, with all the twisty and the vines and everything, aren't going to be as exciting. I think it's going to be really beautiful, especially in the springtime. This is going to look amazing. But that might be the only con, is just the number of invasives as you walk along there. And if you get too close to the poison ivy, that's definitely going to be a con there as well. Now, we are not far from industrial areas. You saw there was, right behind that farm, there was some sort of industrial building, some sort of warehouse or something. Could be the backside of a grocery store for all I know. So that's a little bit different, but still, for the most part, you feel like you're walking through the woods along the Connecticut River for this park. So definitely want to come back here with a boat and go out and see what the Connecticut River looks like. I don't know that I've ever canoed or kayaked the Connecticut River this high up. So for the sojourn, I think we started down a little bit. I think we started in Rocky Hill, actually. But I gotta remember. Okay. Please remember, if you missed any of these programs live, you can watch them on our YouTube channel, and please subscribe to the Meigs Point Nature Center YouTube channel. Make sure you continue to tune in Tuesday through Friday at 11 for our Facebook Live presentations, and our very special programs on Saturdays at 10 o'clock. You can watch them on Zoom or on Facebook Live, and you can find out more information about the topics and subjects on our calendar at meigspointnaturecenter.org. Also, if you visit the Virtual Learning Center, you will see lots of additional educational content along with the videos, and those are open for teachers or anyone to use for educational purposes. So this is Ranger Russ signing off from Windsor Meadows State Park. Until next time, I will see you later.